In this lesson I'm going to show you how to create the effect of shiny metal on this jug. I'm just going to work on the top area. Just to start off, I'm going to use a nice cool blue colour and just give a very light glaze, maybe marking these areas just to take it away from being completely bright white. I'm not going to go all over. Some of these areas are more red in tone. I'm going to leave those out with the blue. Sometimes it can be a bit daunting, something like the texture of metal, to know where to start, and I think just by putting in a pale coat of something as a background glaze, it just helps you make those first marks and not be afraid to make a start. Just a little bit of it coming in there, and these highlights are blue. Okay, I'm going to move now onto this very dark area. I'm going to start by building up very gradually a layer of indigo, just to emphasise this line. Actually, I think I might use my embossing tool just to pick out those two lines. So they don't get lost. I'm not using much pressure, but I am doing quite a thick built up layer. I think one of the things that makes something like complicated reflections a lot easier is getting your drawing in absolutely accurate, and I did this, you can see the marks there from gridding up, and it did take me quite a long time just to get those lines in the right places. It's not like the still lifes I did of fruit and vegetables earlier. With something like this you would need to be quite accurate to get it to look right. Just putting slightly less pressure as I come down to the area where the dark meets the light, because I should be blending that in later on. I'm just going to switch to a cool grey. When you've got this many lines in your drawing in though, it can get a bit confusing. You really have to concentrate on your reference picture, or you can get lost and end up colouring in a reflection by accident. I'm just going to use this grey as well as an undercoat for this more reddish area. Just really so I can see where my graphite's been and don't lose it. Like I say, it can get very confusing when you're staring so close at so many lines. You definitely don't want to lose any. Noticed an area where my drawing in was a little bit wrong. Let's switch back to my blue. This one. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix with this effect. You do just have to really look at the drawing as you're working and get everything just in the right place. But it's worth it. The result be definitely worth it. I'm going to move to a reddish tone. I'll try this one. This is Terracotta. Beginning to wish I'd drawn up my actual picture slightly larger. Some of these details are very, very tiny. I'm going to go over this red with the indigo. And back to a grey now. Yeah, I'm jumping about a bit, but it's because, like I said, when you're concentrating so hard on one area, it can start getting a bit confusing, so sometimes just work on a different area for a minute and then go back to it helps. Plus this is on a dark background, this picture, but we're just going to keep it on a white background. I'm just going to mark out an edge. While I've got this colour, I'm going to come in and pick some of these reflections. They're purple reflections on the handle. Again, I've spotted an area where I'm just going to use the embossing tool to keep some highlights, some tiny little dots. And a little line. And use the same colour just to help this dark area. And use some really bright red, crimson red in this bit. I'm just using grey there to go into that dark area as well. I'm just going to now show you how to use the blending pencil. This is a Derwent blender, and again it's a more or less a colourless wax, but it's different from the burnisher in that it's quite a rough textured wax, and it's a weird feeling, but it's almost like you're roughening up the surface of the wax that you've already laid on and taking some with you and transferring. You can actually see it transfer onto the end of the blender, and then you're using that to sort of smudge. So you can easily blend one colour into another. It's like pulling down, a little bit like when we use the OMS, the spirit, to pull colour from one place to another. So you're working from the dark areas up to the light ones. And use a bit of burnt ochre down here, a little orangey, very pale, and then I'm going to use the same technique on there. Just going to go in the areas where it's darkest, and then pull it from the dark bits to the rest of the areas I need it. So this again, it's quite a painterly technique because you're using an implement to transfer the colour. I'm going to bring in a nice warm grey now. This is French grey. And just start to blend the one side into the other. Once again, I'm just emphasising that edge so you can see that it would stand out if we did a background on it. Just going to use the blender pencil again on this grey area. Add a bit of a blue tone to it. A little bit of purple in there. pull those colours together with the grey. Another area of reddish colour that I'm going to bring in. I'm going to add a little bit of a bright red on there, and then I'm going to use the blender again. Once again, just working from the darkest areas outwards. And to be a bit careful around this, I don't really want the blue area to smudge. Just noticed a little error in my drawing in. Again, I'm bringing in my blender. I'm going to use this warm grey again down this side now, try and balance this side up. I've already used an embossing tool to try and capture these white dots. A very light coat of blue, and then I'm going to blend this area again as well. Tiny bit of orange in that side. this into a goldish yellow colour that it is. A few flecks of red in it as well, I think will help. Blend in that area. I think it's just about there. I hope I've demonstrated for you the how using the blender pencil can just get that lovely smooth effect that you want on shiny metal. A little bit slower but similar in effect to using the wash that we did earlier. One little last bit down here and then I'm going to leave it. How to represent shiny metal.